संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि Om. Om Namah Shivaya and welcome to Hinduism in Focus. As you know, this is a daily broadcast that comes to you through the kind compliments and blessings of the Sanatan Vedic Dharma Pandit Sabha Region 3. Today is of course no different. We are rapidly coming to the observance of the great and perhaps one amongst the most prominent festivals, observance in our calendar, and one of course that begins the year to say, even though the year would begin on the first day of Sant Navratri, but in terms of the calendar year, that is the regular calendar year, this is one of the first major celebration in our community, and this is called Shiva Shivraatri, the great night of Shiva. And so I believe in spirit of the holiness and the importance of that great occasion, from now on and maybe for the next 2 weeks until after Shivraatri, we will talk on the glories of not only Shivratri but on Mahadeva, the great Lord Shiva himself, and to immerse our intellect and whet our devotion, whet our hearts in love and in adorations to the lotus and benign feet of Bhagavan Shankara. And so a good point to begin is to recognize that Shivratri, while it is defined and seen on the outside as engaging in 24 hours of vigil, in Abhishek to Lingam Abhishek, worshipping of the Lingam, Sada Shiva Linga, and we do Havan for the entire day and all of these things. Shivratri actually is inclusive of everything that is conceivably possible, and even what is beyond our limitation of conceiving, of thinking of. Shivratri embodies that. And what do I mean by that? Is that this universe, the entire cosmos, endless universes of course, there is only one source of it. And while this universe manifests in multitudes, while this universe manifests endlessly in multitudes, endlessly in varieties, and all of which add to the beauty of what we call this nature, add to the beauty of this universe, add to the awe and inspiring moments of the universe, everything has come from one source. That source is eternally pure. That source is eternally unchanging. It is always the same. It has never aged. That source is intelligence. That source is power. That source is the very center and the basis of all existence. It is that source from the philosophical lens that we call Shiva, which is not a person, but man's desire to connect to that source, man's longing to say, to immerse themselves, to hold on, to taste, to experience that very source of eternity. Man has found ways to approach. Man has found ways to connect. The human being has found ways to get a glimpse of that experience, to engage himself. And it is out of that longing for the experience of the Supreme Self, the experience of the truth that Shiva was born. Shiva became the man. Shiva became the image. Shiva became the persona. Shiva has now gotten a personality, and a personality upon which the human being ascribe and express their own feeling and idea as to what the Supreme Self might be. And that is why Shiva sits in the highest expression of Shiva in terms of imagery. Shiva sits in meditation. That is, he is one with the source. He is one unmoving, unchanging. He is one at the center of life, from which all life sprung forth. Hence he is shown in Mauna, in silence, in the eternal spirit of existence. In fact, he is the only existence. That is the deepest core of Shiva and Shivraatri. That's a philosophical lens to look at it. It is that all-glorious source, that all-glorious core of existence is ideally our true selves. Our true and real self is that exact Shiva. But until we come birth after birth and we suffer and refine ourselves, until there is nothing else to be refined, until the mind has finally become pure and fades away, until the intellect has finally become pure and fades away, until vasanas or innate tendencies have been burnt out through the process of karma, then and only then there is only one thing that remains, which is untouched by the mind, untouched by the intellect, untouched by the tendencies, untouched by any other thing, any second existence. That thing alone is called Shiva, the pure self. When the human reaches that state, that is called nirvana, that is called moksha, that is called mukti, liberation as it were. That is the summum bonum of the human existence. That is what we call mukti in this tradition. That is where all paths take us. So Shivratri and the worship of Bhagwan Shankara, which we love to do so much, is ideally from the highest point of view directed to that ultimate original source of existence. In fact, the only existence. And Shiva itself means existence. There are three words that have been used in this tradition to describe Shiva. We hear them in bhajans and in Sandesh and all of these things. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. And do you know, all three of them, from a deeper perspective, means the same thing. Satyam, truth. Shivam, existence. Sundaram, beauty. There is no difference amongst the three terminologies. Satya means the ultimate pure, the ultimate truth. Now, is there a second truth? No, there cannot be. There cannot be two truths. There's one eternal truth. The human being is traveling from one state of that truth to the next state. Hindu philosophy of the Upanishads teach these things, that we don't travel from sin or from error to truth, because our real nature is truth. So we travel from truth to truth, from a lower state of experience of that truth to a higher state, and as we refine and purify ourselves, so also we rise until we reach the highest truth and become one with that truth, which is God. So Shiva is the truth, that's the idea. But Shiva is, so Satyam Shivam, Shiva means existence. That truth alone, the highest truth alone, has to be the existence. The existence cannot be separated from the truth. Then what is the truth? What is the existence? We have two things to talk about. But no, the Shivam is the same truth. And that truth, that existence, has to be of the nature of Sundara. Sundara means of the extraordinary, of the beauty. It has to be of beauty, of attraction, of all things of extraordinarily good makeup. That's the idea. Sometimes it is difficult to get the right idea as were intended in the original Sanskrit terminologies, to get that into English. So Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, they mean the same thing. But what they do when we see them separate is that they recognize, the words themselves demonstrate the human journey, how the human travels from one state of that truth to the ultimate state. So the human travels from lower truth to higher truth. When he reaches the higher state of truth, he recognizes that there is only one existence. That truth itself becomes Shivam for him. And then when he becomes Shivam, meaning that he sees there is only one existence, then you realize that is the ultimate beauty. So the same terminology, the same experience transforms itself now for the individual as Sundara, as beauty, as perfect, as awe-inspiring, as exceedingly good, as uplifting. So Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram now becomes one thing. And it's that highest place that the worship of Shiva really is supposed to take one. It is that highest place, that highest ideal, that highest truth, existence and consciousness that Shivratri observes at the highest state. And everything which we sometimes might overlook as ordinary, sometimes too mundane, they are really not. They all represent the level of the human endeavor to reach the highest goal. And that it also adds to the beauty of Shiva, to the beauty of Shivratri. So it is a night when we come to recognize that one underlying existence, which again terminology is used in the scriptures. We call it Satchidanand. It means the same thing. All the words will merge into one. That's the truth, the consciousness. And Ananda is the bliss. It is the beauty. They all merge into one. So the plenty, the many, the variety, they all become the one. Because they cannot be ultimately plenty, they cannot be ultimately variety. Variety and plenitude is for the normal, mundane living and existence and journey to the ultimate one true nature or existence. So this particular occasion of Shivratri, the worship of Bhagwan Shankara, really and truly, while it had emerged as part of the Shaiva tradition, it has now come to be recognized as that ultimate goal of the human being. The occasion reminds us and points to us that ultimate goal that we should not lose touch of. So it is deep, it is intense, and as we go along for the next 2 weeks, we will be speaking more and more and getting greater and greater in detailed explanations on the glories of the occasion and the glories of Bhagwan Shiva. Until we meet again tomorrow, may grace of Mahadeva be with all of us. Om Namah Shivaya.